Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Amsterdam Season 2, Episode 7. And we're going to dip into a real serious topic tonight. I have some people that, we have on the screen. I have Ms. Gabrielle, I have Mr. Aleem, I have Dreaded Prince. Welcome back again, Dreaded Prince. We seen you on Season 1.
Thank you. Thank you for
How
having
you been?
Thank you for having me.
How are y'all been today?
Well, I'm doing well. We got the lovely Gabrielle present.
Doing good.
Hi, everybody. How's it going?
It is going well. So we're here tonight to talk about poly, as some people call it, polyamory. So we're here to talk about that. Non-monogamy, we're here to talk about that. So I guess the first thing, what people would want to know is like, how do you present this to a person? How do you come forthcoming with it to say, hey, this is my lifestyle? Are you into this? Like, how do you get to that?
Anybody in particular you asking?
Anybody can answer. Start it off.
Well, okay, so I was married for 11 years. And upon my divorce, I began to search for different alternative methods of loving. And I came across a subject called sacred sexuality. And from there, I went to different orders and whatnot. And I finally found myself in what we call Progressive Love Academy. And in the Progressive Love Academy, the way that it was presented to me was, it was so natural in terms of who I always was. But, because I was living in a social order, I was attempting to alter myself to be consistent with the order, which is, you got to be with one person. And when I was with one person, my eyes was always wandering and looking at others, and stepping outside my marriage. That wasn't when it became unsatisfying. I stepped out of my marriage. So to answer your question, is I just let people know from the jump street that I'm polyamorous. I'm a freedom-based lover, and I have no intentions of being monogamous. I just be straight up front with it.
Okay. All right. So what about you, Gabrielle?
Well, I think how polyamory or poly period came to me was I was a part of an Kemetic African spirituality group, and in these type of groups, polygyny is a big thing. It's their family structure where the man has multiple wives, and so I've always kind of liked the sister wife thing. Like I was like, ooh, I love knowing that there's more mother sister energy in a family unit. So one of the brothers that I in that initiation kind of presented it to me. And I always was like, oh, I like that. Like, I like knowing that we get to be really honest with each other. And so I think it's more so like I would never come to somebody who's not poly and say, hey, I want poly with you, attracted to poly people. So it's not ever a thing where I'm like trying to introduce somebody to it. That's not ever my goal. There are communities, poly period is much more mainstream than it used to be. So there are groups, there are people who are already letting it be known, I enjoy a poly lifestyle. Poly family structure is what I want. Or that's just, it's a conversation. And so I think that that's where I'm more drawn to, people who are already saying that this is what I am, this is what I want, and so forth.
Okay. What about you, Dreaded Prince?
Well, in reference to to answer the question that you had asked, how do I present it to others? For the most part, I don't have to, because 9 times out of 10, they already know that I'm not monogamous. In reference to that, I don't really consider myself presenting it to them, because I'm certainly not trying to convert anyone from being monogamous to non-monogamous. To be totally honest with you, I don't want that headache. I don't want that task of having to help a person go through all of the processes that is necessary to break down that original line of thinking as far as, oh, I'm supposed to find my one person, my soulmate, whatever the case may be, or this is wrong, or this is outside of the social norms that I'm used to. So I really don't want that task. I don't want that headache. It took a lot of self work on myself, a lot of shadow work to get to the point that I am in my comfort as far as identifying as polyamorous.
Okay. All right. So both of you, Dreaded Prince and Miss Gabrielle, said that you never tried, to sway someone into this lifestyle. What about you, Helene? Have you ever thought about just say, hey, let me try to sway this person into this lifestyle?
No, I haven't, because it's just too many ladies that's already open to the lifestyle, and I prefer it that way. Now, I have been in relationships, and the individual wanted to become monogamous within the
Okay.
poly setting. I've had that. In other words, try to take me back, and
She went from more than one to just a single. So I wanted to interrupt you for a second. Like, how did that play out?
it played out with us being separate from each other.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I am who I am, and I don't have any intentions on going back to that monogamous mindset, because it will create unhappiness over time. I mean, and in order for me to do it, I would have to lie to the person, like, all right,
Right.
baby, I love you, and I'll make that sacrifice for you, knowing full well in my mind that my eyes is going to wander, and eventually, there's going to be a lovely lady that I'm going to want and desire, and you know. So for me, it's like being straight up honest with myself and to whoever I'm related to.
Well, yeah, that's what they say. Honesty is the best policy. So I'm glad you never like you said she tried to make you mano y mano, and it just went that way. So I guess I should ask the three of you: has anybody? Well, you just asked. Well, you just said it yourself that you wanted to go womanize, but has anybody ever played themselves from the jump, tried to live your world, and just couldn't cut it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. In my first marriage, my husband, like, I was begging for a sister wife. Like, I want a sister wife. I was like, you go first, kind of bring the woman in so you feel it. And over years of trying this, trying that, he just is not cut out for it. Like, he is like, that's just not what I want. He didn't want an additional wife. He was like, no. And so I have tried. But I've learned so much along the journey, and I've discovered the characteristics that a man has for successful poly relating in the way that I poly relate. So I learned a lot through that.
Okay. What about you, Dreaded Prince? I don't know if you hear me. You hear me, Dreaded Prince? You might be frozen. But what about you, Helene? What about you?
Well, no, in when I was married, I tried to live that monogamous way, which, like I said before, when things went sour, and things became stagnant along the sexual lines, I wasn't willing to live in, or be involved in what we call a sexless marriage. And I told her that, we can be roommates, but I'm going to get pleasure. And so, in that sense, I was the one stepping beyond, the committed relationship mindset, or the monogamous mindset, and went to wander, and found love in different places.
Okay. And what about you, Dreaded Prince? You can hear me now.
Okay. Sorry about that. I was having some issues with the phone. Um, for me to really say that they couldn't cut it, I don't know, because I have my times where I stumble and fall through this whole journey too. Um, I'll just say that I've come across people who didn't really do the work, who really didn't take the time to learn different methods of communicating with the other people that's in their relationships, to be able to communicate if they are feeling jealous, and communicate that in a more healthy manner, aside from just reacting in a very negative or maybe even aggressive way.
Okay. So when you think about what you've all just said to me, there's a very thin line. I mean, I want you to explain it to the viewers between between poly and just being a swinger. Like there's a mean thin line, but I don't think some people understand it. Like some people think like because you live in this this poly lifestyle that you're a swinger too, that you're in the swing, you swinging things as well. So like explaining them how it's like there's that medium strip between poly and being a swinger.
I love to go first. So one of the things, I've
Okay.
never been a swinger at all. I've never been a part of the swinging community at all. And in my first marriage, that is what my husband thought I was asking for. And to me, what swinging means is, oh, we as a couple are going to go and enjoy another couple. And that's not what I wanted. I did not want to have temporary, short-term sexual encounters with other couples. That is what swinging is to me. I've never swung, so I don't know. But what I desired was additional long-term relationships and family building for legacy, for empire, for all of these more generational reasons, not just right now. To me, swinging is like, tonight, this is what we're doing. Polyamory, polyandry, polygyny, polygamy, to me are more generational or at least lifetime structures. And so that is a big difference. Swinging is very like, hey, let's just have fun for the night. And that's okay if that's what you want, but I've never had that experience.
What about you fellas over there?
Well, for me,
yes,
we're a group we call Peaceful Warriors, and we're about kingdom building.
Okay.
And in kingdom building, we search for mates, or I'll say we desire mates who we can feel comfortable that will assist us in our building, the building of our kingdoms. And as a result of that, we're not like just out for fun and play. Although we desire fun and play within the structures of our relationships, but it's not like today we going out, we're gonna find this couple and we're gonna have fun, we're gonna have pleasure, and then we won't see them again, we'll get another one. We're more about building structures, and as Gabriel says, about generation. We're trying to build generational wealth and transfer power that will last for time and iniquity, moving into a different culture and establishing that culture so that it can create a world of called prosperity and abundance.
Okay. And what about you, Dre? Can you speak?
Yeah, I'm a retired one, and I do agree with Gabrielle as far as it is more pleasure. So I will say that I was very fortunate as far as the groups that I did circulate in. They were more so about also building lifelong friendships. They had a bit of a community within them as well. They did a lot of, say, for instance, community service, disaster relief when things would happen as far as the weather. But in reference, going back to what Gabrielle said, it is pleasure centered. And when it comes to polyamory, it's more so it's very intentional, as said before. It's very intentional. It's more about building, family, and established relationship, whole relationships, healthy ones. And that's not to say that that's absent in the swinger community, but in reference to the intentions that are there, um, it is more direct and straight to the point. I'll say that.
Okay, well, direct straight to the point. So I guess So can you really find like real intimacy in being in a polyamorous relationship? Can you
Definitely.
find real intimacy? Can you find real intimacy in being poly? Can you find real intimacy?
If
I'm
that's what you
saying
desire.
definitely. Yeah. I mean, when you say intimacy, um,
Well,
in terms
okay. I'm gonna the promo that I ran earlier. It was a man and two men and a wife, and the one man was getting jealous because she was always with the other man. So he was like, "Well, we need to figure this out how to split these days up. Like 7 days of the week, I'm gonna be with her 3 days this week, you be with her 4 days this week, and then next week we vice versa. Like, how do you like control that right there? One person being, I guess, being more needy of your time or being jealous of the situation. How do you put things in perspective?
well, for me, jealousy.
Communication and Google Calendar.
Yeah, but jealousy in itself is a quality. I'll use the word quality, but it's not something that I truly desire. It might be in me, but when it comes up, it's something that I have to address. Like get to the root cause of my jealousy, and try to shift the mindset to compersion. I'm literally loving the fact that my woman is happy as
Right.
opposed to me being jealous. And, because I'm free, I'm not waiting at home for her to come back to me. I'm also pursuing outside relationships.
Okay.
So there's really no time for me to become jealous because, I already understand the mindset. And as long as she's loving me when she's with me, and caring for me when she's with me and working to build my kingdom, and me assisting her and her building her queendom, I don't see the point. I think it's a childish mindset. Not to say I don't have it, but when it comes up, I know that it's something that in me that I got to work on to overcome.
Okay. All right. So you got to overcome it. What about you, Gabriel?
Can you ask the question one more time for me? It's a little bit of feedback that's
Yeah,
throwing
I'm
me off.
trying to fix that in the process of it as well. But I was saying like, how do you like stop one from being jealous of one wanting more of your time than the other? Like, how do you nip that in the bud?
Oh my God, negotiation. Family negotiation system. I am organized. Like we are gonna have an organized family. And that is one of the things I support couples in doing is negotiating and contracting out what you are creating. Polyamory can be one of the most intentional or polygyny, polyandry. If we are not coming with high levels of intention and what we want, we're not going to have what we desire, And so having a negotiation and creating a contract is what is there so everybody knows what's going on. And I think that's where a lot of the coaching that we have had to do and that we do offer is present because some people are just jumping into poly relationships. I want to have sex with this person. I want to be with that person. But what is your real foundational purpose for all of this? We must get clear on that if you are trying to have a successful family structure. Now, if it's just, I want to just sow my royal oats, learn about myself sexually, people are doing that, but we don't consider that poly at Progressive Love Academy and Psalms. We don't consider that poly. You are just out there doing your thing. Poly is committed relationships with multiple people. And so that is the negotiation and contract is how you help everybody understand that this is what's happening. This is what we can expect. And now we're all in the know.
We have in our group dynamic, we have a thing called up-level communication. So there are times when things get rocky. You know, they got to get it off their chest. You know, so we vent, and then after the vent, I witness the vent, and then we go through the process. And that's what I was talking about in terms of me trying to understand what is the reasoning for me to be being jealous, over the situation. And jealousy comes up in all forms, not just in relationships. Yeah, if individuals jealous over an individual making more money than them, it's an issue within the individual as to why jealousy comes up, as opposed to appreciating and valuing the person. Why you got to be jealous of them.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Dreaded Prince?
I think it's important to, because of course I'm having technical difficulties. Just to make sure I'm chiming back in on the right question. This is in reference to how to handle jealousy, or what exactly? I just want to make sure I'm on the right page.
Yeah, somebody handling jealousy, or somebody that's like wanting more time than the other, basically like trying to shun the other person out the whole picture.
So, and I've definitely encountered a time or two where that was the case, as far as somebody trying to, push another out of the picture, or wanting to hog, another individual's time, things like that. As mentioned before, communicate, communication, communicate. Do it till you're blue in the face. If you are the individual who is feeling jealousy, always be open to answering the question why. Not if something, not necessarily in the case of some, your other partners asking you that. Ask yourself that. Why is it that I'm jealous? What is it that's making me feel a way? That it seems to be where they seem to be closer, or it seems like this person has more time with my partner than I do, things like that. Never be afraid to ask yourself why. Um, and I will say it's hard to do that, because when you start to ask yourself why, even when you come up with an answer, even when you answer truthfully to yourself, guess what? There's still going to be another why, and it's going to force you to pretty much dig deep and unpack some things that maybe you were not aware of, as far as things that bother you, or bring up those feelings that equate to jealousy. Um, have I encountered those people that will actually, be so malicious as to try to, you know, take a partner away, or take me away from somebody that I'm with? Yes, it's definitely happened in the past. And hell, I'll be the first to admit it. I was not always aware of it. There are some shitty people out there. Be quite frank. Um, but you should be open to having those conversations, and digging deep and unpacking some things, and asking yourself why. What is bringing up those emotions in me that equate to jealousy? Is my partner really showing more affection to this person, or is it that I wish they would also show me that type of affection? And if so, just communicate that. There's nothing wrong with saying that. Hey, I could use some more words of affirmation. I'm feeling kind of down today, and I'm not really feeling the love like I used to with you. So just if you can, be mindful of that. Now hold on. Let me say this. I'm not going to say that you should always put it on the other person to do this. You should be willing to do this for yourself as well. And I'll end there.
Okay, that was great right there.
I think there's a
Go ahead.
value to vulnerability. Letting the individual know that in this particular moment, you were feeling in a particular way. You say that in the context. You put it what we say. You put it in a frame, in the context of event. and then we process the situation. Come to find out, this is not about you. It's about something that happened way back in my childhood, in my past, and I've carried this same emotional reaction up until today. So in many ways, this particular incident is helping me to discover myself. So in that regard, I'm not blaming another person for this particular feeling coming up in me. I'm thanking her for allowing me to witness myself and to discover an aspect of myself that I never healed from. And now I have time to heal.
That's right.
Okay, I got you. So this was like brewing because I'm looking at you as being adults. So how do interactions with your partner's children fit into the relationship? Because some people may have extra little people or teenagers or midlife adults, almost adults. Like, how do they fit in this whole equation as well?
Gabriel?
Like your children, your children, their children.
I got children too.
Well, and for me, poly is very family oriented. Is what the way that I move through poly, what I'm creating in poly is very family oriented. And so I'm a mother of 3 daughters. I'm a little clutch with my children. Not a lot of people have met my children, period. You know what I mean? And that's just my way of like, okay, are we in this thing long term? Do you have the qualities of fathering that I'm looking for my children? But me, I'm a mother, period. All children on the earth, I'm a mother. So if I'm in a man's life, I am taking care of his children. That's hands down. And it's just who I am anywhere. So there's a little bit of like, are we really at that point where you are going to be a lifelong father to these children? And if not, if we don't ever reach that space, then we just never reach that space. But for me, when other children are a part of the family, I'm mothering at all times. That's just the way it is. And so I would love to hear the brother's perspective around how does that work? Because I feel like women, we're used to mothering children, other men's children. We're used to it. It's a more natural thing than men, fathering multiple sets of children that are not his own. So I'd love to hear you guys' feedback.
Okay. I don't have any biological children. Both of my children are adopted. And I hate to disagree with Gabriel, but I think most men will take the responsibility of being the father of the children of the woman that he is in relationship with. It's just something that's inherent in our culture that this is what we do. You say you take it on the family, you take on a woman, you take on the family, and this is how we are oriented. Now with regards to my lady friends, they know my children. My daughter, she's protective of daddy. You know what I'm saying? But when she got pregnant, and the ladies, was gifting her for the, with gifts for her child, she loosened her grip. Whereas my son, he's more like, do you, he looking at it like daddy a player, but daddy ain't no player. I'm like real, and I'm intentional, and I do what I do.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm 66 years old, and the women that I deal with, most of them, their children are grown.
Okay, well that takes the equation out if they grown already, because it's like as long as you treat my mother and my dad cool, happy, that's all I care about. You're not at that teenage stage where, and you said you got 3 girls, Gabrielle, so I'm pretty sure teenagers don't like nobody. And that's just what I've always experienced with teenagers going into relationships. It's like they don't care who you are. If you're not my dad, not my mom, it's going to take some winning over to do. So,
different now. My teenager's always like, does he have another wife? You know, that's her first question. Does he have another wife? Is there another mom involved? And she is, you know, much more open to her mother's happiness. I think she's.
So you explained it to her already, so she understands.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I mean, I was even going to be a part of a show about poly families, and so I had to talk to her about it, like in depth. Like, this is what may happen. So that really initiated her to understanding that dynamic. So she knows. And her concern is my mother happy? Is she being taken care of? Is she being loved? I know she's wise. She's going to make good choices for our family, but is she cared for? So she's not like pushing folks away, because it's not people coming around like that either. Like, are you a husband interview or not? That's the only access to my children, really. I think you're muted.
Oh shit! What about you, Dreaded Prince?
I've been a co-parent a few times. I don't have any biological children of my own, but from what I've noticed, um, in these relationships, you know, children are not oblivious to what's going on. They know if mommy's, you know, dating someone new. They know if daddy's seeing someone new. Um, and from, you know, when it comes to, of course, when the children are introduced to me, I've always left that up to the mother in reference to that. And also in reference to what the mother wants to communicate to their children in reference to who I am, or what place I have in her life and in their lives if it gets to that point. Um, but it's not something I shy away from as far as, you know, if it's something that becomes long lasting and, you know, she introduces me to her children. I don't know. As far as me having my, you know, my own children biologically, I've kind of given up the ghost on it, you know, but if it happens, it happens. But I don't shy away from being a co-parent or, you know, a father figure to my partner's children. I don't shy away from that.
Nice. I think
All
you're
right,
muted.
so I'm open now. So you know, as always, because we did a show, and Dreaded Prince, you was on that show with BS and King, of how TV represented 50 Shades of Black, which you and your partner said at that time was like, that's not true. So I want to know is like, do you wish television represented your lifestyle better? Like, or is it fine the way that they represent, you know, poly relationships on TV, or, you know, is that all just fabricated what they have on TV?
Okay,
I've
so
never
we're talking
seen.
strictly about polyamory.
Okay.
Yeah, on TV, like how they show
Okay,
it on TV. Like,
all right.
I mean, you talked last time, you told me 50 Shades of Black, 50 Shades of Gray was not true with the whole BDS and Keith thing. It was like mild mannered to what really goes on. So I'm asking you now, it's like in a poly relationship, how they, you know, how they just display it on TV. Is it kind of, you know, real, or is it like fabricated as well? Like they're not getting the nooks and crannies, is like just all over the place how they represent them on TV.
But where do they represent
Exactly.
it at on TV? I haven't seen it. Well, there might be some movies or whatever, but I've never seen any TV.
Well, we'll take TV as movies as well then.
What
Uh,
movies are
Yeah,
showing
TV.
poly though? I've never seen any. Fortunately.
Well, they show, well, they show where it could possibly lead into what could be a polyamorous thing, or ethical non-monogamous type deal. However, does it directly speak on it? I wouldn't say that. There are some independent films, some maybe some shows and movies on Netflix that you may come across, and maybe even the foreign film section that may openly talk about, you know, or well, at least imply an ethical non-monogamous dynamic. What I feel like, one, because, you know, of course we've seen the shows that, you know, searching, you know, looking for a sister wife or whatever it's called.
Oh.
Maybe even some short documentaries on TV that you may see where they talk about polyamorous or ethical non-monogamous dynamics. However, what tends to happen is you very rarely see the variety of how these dynamics appear and present themselves. It's always usually, even as a cishet man, I will say it's always some type of cishet normative perspective or experience that's being displayed, where it's one man and two women. Or even in the case, you may see that situation where it's one man and two women, and maybe the one of the women are not involved intimately with that man, but instead the other woman's partner. But it's very heteronormative what you do see. You don't see the full spectrum of how these ethical non-monogamous dynamics present themselves. I'll say that.
So while you were talking, I googled some movies, and it has like She's Gotta Have It, Sex
Oh,
of
Okay. Yeah.
Angels,
Right.
Savages, uh, Holly Slept Over, 5 to 7, Afterglow, Kiss Me Again, Strange Affair. Those in that nature, that those movies that they had,
Yeah.
some of
And
those
that, and
movies.
that's another and that's another thing. A lot of times in those movies, it's not always something that's talked about up front. It's something that you kind of fell into. You know how sometimes we talk about a lot of our grandparents was in non-monogamous relationships unconsensually,
Mm-hmm.
as far as the partners
Right.
cheating. Granddad may have a child down the road that nobody knows about. So in those situations, like just for example, one particular show on sex life, I mean on Netflix, is called Sex Life, where this woman, and that's a whole nother thing there. That's a whole nother topic. But the woman, she had a very fruitful, um, exciting sex life before she decided to get married. And so in the midst of being married to this, this well respected guy who is doing all he can to provide for her and love for her and stuff like that, she starts writing in her journal about the guy that she used to have flings with, stuff like that, and how exciting her sex life was beforehand. Well, in the midst of that, he comes to know about it, and as the show goes on, you start to wonder: is there a polyamorous relationship that's about to form out of this? Is he going to be cool with her maybe starting back up the relationship that she had with this guy that she used to have flings with, or maybe is she going to go into some type of polyamorous relationship with her best friend and this guy, or whatever the case may be? So it's always implied, and it's always something that's fell into based off of cheating, infidelity. So you start to wonder. And so these shows that you mentioned, I believe, and the movies that you mentioned kind of happened in that way. Cheating formed, or the person was cheating first, and the other person was just like, oh well, why the fuck not? Might as well, because I want to keep my partner. I don't want to lose them, so I might as well just deal with this or get with the program. And I don't think that's a good representation always. Yeah, sure, it's good for entertainment, but it's not. It doesn't speak to the true experience.
yeah.
Gotcha.
And if they ever displayed and taught poly relations for generational wealth building, it would squash the economy that we have right here. And so you may see some British type of colony stuff, like talking about multiple families working together to build generational wealth. But if they really displayed that level of poly relating, I think it would just do the economy in, because now instead of all these families living separate and apart from each other, they're all bringing their resources now to build something of longevity, generational wealth for the next set of family members. I don't see that teaching. And so with that, I feel there is misrepresentation for people who are utilizing poly relationships as a vehicle for wealth building.
You about to say something, Helene?
No, I'm just I saw the movie Sex Life in Fact, and it wasn't a good representation, but it did explain some of the desire dynamics in the feminine.
Okay.
Like her. in our school of thought, that she was obsessed with her womb choice. The guy that she had, powerful sexual relationships with, and her husband, he was dynamic in his own right, and he was providing her with a stable home life, and she loved him too. So it did explore the fact that a woman could love two men, but in this dynamic, it was like she was torn apart. And I think at the end, the two guys befriended each other, so she could have a whole relationship with the two. So in that regard, even though it started out shaky, it came together. But I think that it'd be so much more refined if we start out with that understanding that the woman has different needs, man has different desires, and we can understand that aspect of ourselves, that we're not singularly focused, but we're dynamic creatures. The human being is a dynamic creature with multiple desires and multiple needs, and the possibilities of all that we are getting met by one person is highly unlikely. It's highly unlikely.
Okay, so you said that right there, the needs and and things of that nature. So when when needs and agreements and the boundaries are negotiated, is there a possible way that you can go back and renegotiate, or there's no way?
We
Yes.
always go for negotiation.
Always renegotiate.
Yeah.
Always,
Definitely.
always.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're always growing. Growing is
Okay.
one of those dynamics. It's a human dynamic. We're growing. When we met each other, we came upon this set of agreements because those set of agreements was specific for that particular moment. But moments are expanded, and we're expanding in the moment. So, what the man that I was yesterday, I'm a different guy today. So yeah, we have to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
So renegotiation is always up for it.
Yeah.
So what if you can't renegotiate? Like your partner's like, I don't want to renegotiate. Like this is what we agreed to. Even though you say, I get you evolving. You caterpillar to butterfly. I get that. But some people just want to be stagnant. Like I like it this way, and I don't want to renegotiate.
I would definitely kind of probe and ask, what is the resistance to growth here? Because we're all here to grow. So I would be supportive, like, what is so comfortable about this stage that makes you want to stay here? Or what is your fear from pushing forward? Because why else would we not move forward in progression? There has to be some fear that we're projecting out there about why I don't want to go there. And that
Yeah.
comes up a lot in poly relationships, doesn't it, Helene? Like people are like, no, I want to stay where it's comfortable.
I'd like to know an example. Give me an example of what you're speaking of.
So say,
No, not you, baby. I'm talking about the gentleman.
okay.
Oh, me to give you an example?
Yeah, for example, where relationship, one person is not wanting to go where the relationship is going.
Okay, so all right, so I guess it'll be like, someone basically, I mean, you could just say the relationship is moving forward. So you could say, in an instance, you get a job and it's not where you're from and it's somewhere else and you have to move. One is saying, yeah, let's go, Helene. Come on, we pack this shit up, let's go. The other one is like, nah, I'm here. I'm not leaving. Like, how do you like well, I guess I should negotiate because when you first met her, you told her like, listen, I want to leave. This is what I want to do, and she's with it. But when that time comes to say, okay, I got the job, it's time to pack up and go, I'm not going. Like, there's no renegotiation right there. You said that you were going, now you're not going. Like, how do you get that person to move forward? Because now you're moving forward with the progress.
Well, in that situation, for me, it would be just us agreeing to have long-term relations. You know, so like if you want to stay, say in Baltimore, and I'm moving to Houston or I'm moving to California, you know, you can stay in Baltimore, but I'm going to Houston. I'm going to California. And I'll come to see you periodically. You know, we share, you know, intimate moments when I come to see you or you come to see me. You know, because you know, along with the evolution of ourselves, life itself is evolving. You know, so Baltimore is not that far away from California. It's just an air ride away. It was, you know, what it took 6 hours.
5.5 hours,
Oh,
5,
yeah,
6 hours.
you know, I mean, so you know, ain't no sense in making a mountain out of a mole. You want to stay in Baltimore? Okay, you stay in Baltimore, man. But
I guess I should say like the rules, you know, the rules are equally binding on everyone they affect, or you know, sometimes do they create double standards?
Yeah, we try to. I think that's the double standard mindset is a mindset of an individual who hasn't evolved. You know, I'm going to make this for me, but it's not for you. So I'm wanting to date multiple women, but you have to date only me, and I make that a rule. So that's something inside of me that is insecure. I desire this for myself, but I'm not allowing you to pursue it for yourself. You know, and some people got the power of persuasion and you know, can force an individual or the individual allow themselves to be forced into that you know, circumstance.
Right.
But it's still the individual's issue that they're not addressing, from my perspective. What you think, Gabriel? Gabriel?
Can you ask me the question?
Oh, basically, I was saying, you know, where like the rules are equally binded and they affect everyone, or do they just create double standards? And, you know, as Halim said, you know, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this together. You can't just do you. We're going to do this equally. Sometimes it creates double standards.
Well, yes, that does happen in this community where, you know, it's like, oh, okay, I can do this, but you can't do that. But see, this is why it's critical for every couple or unit to have their own negotiations, agreements, and protocols. When you can come together and say, this is the way our unit operates, because in the poly world, it is limitless of what you can create. I know some women who are polyamorous who choose only one man because he's so good and he got 10 other women, but she just wants to be devoted to him because that's the love that she wants. Now, he never said that she can't be with anybody else. She is making a choice that this quality of masculinity in my life is what I desire and want. That's something different. Now, a double standard is in the bigger picture of, oh my God, women can't do this because of blah, 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 blah. You know, men are made this way. It's natural to be this way. That's chatter. Because when you are responsible for designing your union the way that you want it to, you're going to negotiate that together and create your own couple. And so that's where the higher level of success is. So I don't care about no double standards because we're going to create our union's law. That's what we're going to do.
What about you, Dreaded Prince? What about you, Dreaded Prince?
I can't stand those double standards, to be honest. I heard about the whole OPP, you know, and you know, granted, you know, when it comes to the OPP, it's not just for penis; it can also stand for pussy, because there are some women who will attempt to impose that on men. Every reason that I've heard as far as why men try to impose the OPP on a woman, it never makes sense to me. It's always some bullshit. It's always some, you know, no offense to anybody that, you know, does believe in OPP, but that should be a choice. Like Gabrielle said, you know, if that woman chooses just to be with that one particular guy, and he still be able to, you know, pursue other relationships as well, I mean, that's a decision. Period. some people try to mask it under the whole concept of polyfidelity, but it's not polyfidelity if it's something that you're requiring somebody to do at all. So that's how I feel about that.
So, out of all good things we spoke about, there has to be some of your failures in the whole poly community. Like, what are some of your worst poly dating failures?
Oh my God. One of the things that was really challenged, that was the most recent, is that I saw as a continuous pattern is, feeling like I should choose my partner's partners, or feeling like I should be a part of that choice, or feeling like, oh, baby, you deserve this, but, she's not really there. One of the things that I have learned is you cannot choose your partner's partners. The way they love that person, the way they connect with them, you have no idea how they're fulfilling them. This is not my personal fulfillment that I'm measuring. This is a person that I love's personal fulfillment. And so the way that I can best love my partner is to love what he loves, instead of trying to be the manager and like, oh, this will fit better this way, or That was a big lesson for me to learn is, baby, I love you. If that's what you love, I love you and I support you. Because trying to manage that, it creates a rift between me and the man present. Because now he's like, are you supporting me? Are you against me? So that was a failure. That was a lesson. I won't call that an L loss. It's an L lesson. Okay.
It's a lesson. Okay, it's a lesson. Oh man, what about you, Brother Prince? You ever took a loss?
Let's see. I'll talk about a personal failure. Like I say in a previous relationship, like for instance, I became complacent, or seemingly complacent, where I wasn't communicating my affection to my quote unquote primary partner or nesting partner. I got hung up with work. I would get caught up with a lot of different things, stuff like that. And then, of course, just with things as far as day-to-day life, I didn't realize that I was failing in that particular point in showing my affection and being consistent with it. So when it came to a point where somebody approached me as far as dating, it was so much so to the point that I was failing in doing that it seemed as if there was no love at all for my nesting partner. And and I can stand on that. I can accept that that failure. As far as that's concerned, a lot of times what happens is, when it comes to either marriage and sometimes even nesting together, cohabitating together, you may seemingly become complacent where you don't even realize that you're not doing the things that you used to do. And when your partner brings that up, don't just shrug it off. Definitely, reflect on the things that you're doing and the things that that you used to do. So in my particular case, and this is not an excuse, work, projects that I was doing and things like that, I didn't realize that I was, essentially neglecting my partner. So yeah.
Okay. What about you, Helene?
The one thing that reaches out is me not being aware of how I was chosen. I'm thinking, based upon the way that I entered into the relationship was like, giving information and helping lady to heal herself from certain situations, and her being able to like go back and forth with me on the intellectual level. I thought that I was being crown chosen. And the reality was she was womb choosing me after we started having sexual relations. And it like took me kind of off my center, because I wasn't really in a place, even physically at that particular time, to provide the amount of sex that she wanted.
What was the amount she wanted?
Huh?
What was the amount she wanted?
She wanted a lot, and I was like recovering from diabetes, which took me totally out of commission. I'm trying to build up my chi and getting my energy back up and whatnot, and she wanted to take all of it from me, so I had to back up.
Snatch your chi back. Snatch
your
chi
back up. On the chi, get my chi back.
Oh man.
We still friends though. We still friends. And that's I think that's another point that we have to emphasize, is that in our school of thought, we have a thing that we call universal divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And what is?
Can you explain that to us? What universal divorce is?
It means that we don't separate on bad terms.
Okay.
We love each other to the end. So she called me today and she needs something from me. I'm willing to do that for her. If I call her, I need something from her, she's willing to do that for me. I'm never going to speak ill of her, and I don't think she'll ever speak ill of me. We still care for each other. We in this world together.
Can't give too much of that away, because that's taught only at Psalms. Progressive. Universal divorce, first choice, feminine choice paradigm, masculine desire paradigm. All of that juiciness is taught at Psalms.
You're right. Yeah.
So I guess one of the viewers wanted to know, once you got better, did you give her the chi?
That's a good question. And it might be something that I have to readdress. But I'm like, if I ever leave a person, I don't like going back.
Okay.
I don't like going back to someone that that we separate from. Because like right now, I have several ladies that I'm entertaining, and I don't want to take on another right now, because it would be an overload. So in order for me to take on another, one would have to, I'm conserving. I have my plate is full right now, So yeah, just because it's available don't mean I have to pursue it.
All right. So I want y'all to think back, because I want y'all to go back when you first started poly dating. Like, what was your experience? Was it good? Was it bad? What happened? Was you nervous? Like, think back when you first said, this is the lifestyle I'm living. This is the very first time you went out. Like, was it good, bad? Like, what happened?
I loved it so much because I love honesty. I feel like only in open relating or poly relating do you have deep levels of honesty. Is the person really bringing their truth? Like, I loved it. This man was like, I love you and I love her. And it just was like, I love that. Like, and then let me tell you, from a woman's perspective, this is one of the reasons why you see married men having multiple mistresses, is because a man who is married and has taken care of his family, he's doing that well, he is already attractive to other women because he's shown us that he can do it. He can hold things together, he can show up, that he can be responsible and accountable. So women are already attracted to that, even though in monogamy, it's like, okay, he's off limits. But usually he has mistresses anyway. Okay. So the fact that this man was honest, was accountable, and like, hey, I want to be with you, and you know, she's here too, and I'm laying in bed with him, and he calling her, okay, baby, I love you, good night. I thought it was sexy. I was just like, this is hot to me. This man is not, and I'm psychic too. I'm psychic. If you are
stole some tea that night too, I'm guessing. You stole some tea that night as well.
But my thing is, it's just unattractive for a man to be lying.
Right.
And as women, we're psychic. We can feel energy. We know when you're hot. We know when you're not being honest. And so it gave me a safety feeling that I really wanted. Oh, this man is transparent. He's honest with himself. He's honest with me. And so I just loved it because I don't have to guess. I don't need to go through your phone. I don't need to worry where you are because you're honest. You can look me in my eye and like, this is what I was doing. This is where I was at. You know, if he decides to share that, or he can just say, I'm hanging with one of my ladies. I love that. And that has always been there for me. I just love it. That's still intimacy. When we have to hide stuff, that is the opposite. Or blocking connection. You're hiding stuff.
Right.
So I've always loved it. I can't see it any other way.
Sound like you had a good time this time. What about you, Dre? Your very first time of, going out, how did it go? Yeah. We think you have technical difficulty coming to you, Helene. How was it? Was you nervous? How did you feel?
I had a wonderful time. Lady took me to the Maxwell show, and yeah, and it was beautiful. He was. I think he helped me with his his tender voice, his vulnerabilities, all that kind of stuff. He helped to get her ready for me.
Right.
Yeah, but it's been a good experience for me all the way through. Just a growing experience, even the hard or bad times. As we say, I go through the process of knowing, how to tune in and get to the core issue so that I can grow. Yeah. So I don't have any hardship stories.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You had Maxwell in the background, so it couldn't have been that hard. Jordan Prince, what about you? You still there? Still there. He's sitting there. Oh, man. Well, I'm going to ask this before we get into our other segment. Like, if there was somebody new to Polyamory, to it, and they asked you about it, like, what would the first thing you tell them? If you wanted to join this lifestyle, they asked you a question like, how things work. They were curious about it. What would you tell them?
If someone wanted to know more about polyamory, the first thing I would say is you need initiation. And there's only one place I know on the planet, and I'm the COO of the company, which is Psalms, Progressive Spiritual Alchemical Mystery School, and also Progressive Love Academy. You need to be around a community of people who have been successful, who have fallen and burnt their knees, so you can learn those lessons quickly. Or you're going to be a person who has to go through it yourself and develop systems and processes that are going to support you in being successful. If you don't have mentorship and eldership and having a successful poly relationship, and I hope y'all did not think I was going to come here talking about sex, because that is not what poly is the foundation of it. That's not the foundation. It's a part of it. But I know a lot of women are polyamorous, sexually exclusive with one man and has multiple relationships with other men for other reasons. Okay. And so it's important that you're exposed to variations of what relating or open relating is, so that way you know what you can create. You can be more authentic to what it is you actually desire. Some people want to just have sex with what they want to. Thing. Some people they want, well, I really love my husband and he takes great care of me financially and he does this, but I just really want somebody to talk to about this. That can be relating, where your husband knows that you're being fed in a way that is fulfilling for you from another man. To me, that's real friendship. Like, hey, I need this. Can you support me in having it? So being around a community of people who are initiated and offer initiation, that is the first thing I'm gonna say. Don't do it by yourself, or you're gonna fall and have to, figure it out yourself. But if you want the cheat sheet, there are people out there that will help.
Okay. What about you, Aline?
I agree. I agree with everything that Gabrielle just said with regards to having someone or a group of people, share their experiences with you, and someone that can coach you into evolving to a mindset of where you can be successful. Now, for men, to be successful, you have to be willing to grow your economy. If you're talking about taking on multiple women, now you can get ladies that have their own wealth, but even they want you to bring something to the table. So if you're having multiple women, as a man, you have to deal with the money piece. Get your mind beyond the notion of working 9 to 5 and start thinking about creating wealth and being a mindset of abundance. So it's not just you're trying to date women, but you're also working to build a kingdom, build a future for family, and so you're doing the honorable things as a man, not necessarily to gain the woman's respect. You're doing those things as a man because this is what men do.
And we exist, baby.
Yeah. So that's we have to formulate a different mindset that goes beyond the traditional thinking of a man in Western culture. You got to see yourself as a god man. Take those qualities of God, and God is not one day at a time kind of God. He's like creating years and millenniums into the future. Things that are being created today is working to be advanced in the future. And that's the mindset that you got to have. You have to have compassion. You got to have love. You have to have a mindset of abundance.
Gotcha. Now, I don't know if David told you, but this is the time of the show that we call I Be Damned. And this is normally somebody sends me their bad dating horror story, and I read it back and I let you depict it. So this is another episode of I'll Be Damned, and it should be coming on in about 20 seconds. I didn't mean to close the whole thing out. I got to re-download it now. Didn't mean to close it all the way out. So yeah, and close it all the way out. I'm like, why is it not playing? but it should begin shortly in about 20 seconds. So, like I said, I'll be damned. We go across the country and we find dating horror stories. We reach out to many, tell me their horror stories and what happened. This one takes place in Brooklyn, New York, this week. So as soon as it loads up, we can get to it.
This is one episode.
We have a bunch of episodes, but this is another one. They come on every week about 9:50, but we went over today. But it's all good because we was having fun. What up, y'all? It's time for another episode of I'll Be Damned. This week. And it goes like this. I was swiping through Plenty of Fish, POF, and came across this dude. Let us call him AB, aka Ass Blower. It will make more sense towards the end of the story. AB asked me if I'm down for the get down. Am I down for the get down? And I said, of course I am. But since I do not want to end up disposed in a back alley or on TV One, Fatal Attraction, or snapped on Oxygen, I asked him if we could meet up for a drink first. So we met at this bar in Brooklyn, and AB looked great. He checked this dude did not look too crazy boxes. So we headed back to his apartment, remind you, Brooklyn, to get down with the get down. We got to his apartment and he whipped out a bottle of wine and said, we are going to get drunk and do wild shit that we've never done before. I'm secretly thinking, hey, bro, because you did anal once in your lifetime does not make you kinky, bro. Little did I know I was in for some wild shit that night. First, Ass Blower whips out a plethora of toys. Oh, shit, I lost the part in the story. He whips out a plethora of toys, including a double-sided dildo, vibrator, and an air pump. Yo, a fucking air pump. Let's jump ahead about an hour. Now, after some anal prep and fucking on his balcony, he whips out this air pump. It turns out this dude's fetish is blowing air into asses and listening to it come out. He wanted to hear me blow a big ass fart. Anyways, Ass Blower proceeded to pump air into my ass. And I legitimately thought I was going to blow away. There was so much air in me. I was farting, queefing, and burping something what felt like days after. He continued to text me, but I could not get over the fact that he pulled out Rosen's fucking air pump. He thought my ass was a Spalding basketball. I blocked him and closed my Plenty of Fish account. I'll be damned.
I'll be damned too. I had to listen to this shit.
Yeah, so that's what happened. Brooklyn got drunk, pulled the air pump out. I don't know.
I don't know either, man.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
oh, man. So,
yeah.
that was this week's I'll Be
Damned. You know, yeah, all kind of shit.
Yeah, that was this week.
Yeah.
Oh man, but definitely thank y'all for coming out, man, and enlightening us on the poly community. Thank you for coming out, speaking to us.
All right.
And
Thank
you're
you.
definitely. Oh, so I almost forgot. If anybody had questions, where can they reach you at?
Well, if you would like to speak to me about poly relationships, initiating in a more spiritual way of developing poly, or support with your poly relationships, being more successful, you can reach me at GabrielleSelena.com. It's spelled exactly how my name is. I don't know if it's on the chat box there, but GabrielleSelena.com. I have sessions. I'm also a hypnotherapist, which is also helpful in supporting poly relationships because we have inner trauma. We have inner child stuff that we need to work through to be successful. So you can find me there, GabrielleSelena.com. Thank you.
What about you, Helene?
Yeah, I'm a health coach in my private life, and you can contact me at positivemanhood.com. And you know, I've built a system that works from the inside out on male virility and building up the chi that you was talking to me about. You know, I created a whole course on male virility and helping men overcome erectile dysfunction.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, well, they're gonna reach out to you, but this is another edition of Amsterdam Talk. I will see you next week with domestic violence.
Uh-oh.
Work on that.
Next week, 9 o'clock, same place, same channel, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, domestic violence. But don't forget to tune in on Sunday for Ask a Black Woman. And they're talking about accountability on Sunday. Ask a Black Woman to talk about accountability. Sunday at 8 p.m. Same station.
All right.
Have a good night, y'all.
Bye.